Welcome to Midlife Schmidlife, the online community for listeners who want to redefine the middle years and recreate their lives lived to the fullest. Join our host, Liz Applegate, as she interviews guests over the age of 40 who are turning their maybe somedays into today and going after their dreams. Let's get the party started. Hey, Schmidlifers, welcome to the Midlife Schmidlife podcast. I'm your host, Liz Applegate, and I'm so glad that you are here and joining us today. I want to welcome any new listeners that are out there. Thank you so much for tuning in. And for my returning listeners, thank you for being patient with my 2017 year. I don't know. That was kind of a humdinger of a year. I actually am so glad to be in 2018 and so glad to be back on the air and ready to bring you some exciting guests that I have lined up for the podcast. Now, for today's show, I want to ask you a couple questions before we get on to the interview. First, I want to ask, do you believe that self-care is being selfish? And I mean that as far as you taking the time for self-care. Do you feel selfish when you feel like that you should set aside some time to take care of yourself? And do you have a hard time taking care of yourself and setting that time aside? Do you feel that you are suffering from burnout often when you are putting the demands of your career or relationships before your own needs? Now, often we are caring for others out of love, of course, but all too often I believe that we are doing things out of obligation and not really paying attention to what we are actually feeling. We say yes a lot of times when we want to say no. So do you notice how these questions go hand in hand? Like if we don't take the time to care for ourselves, then we feel resentful and we can feel actually burnt out. That is where my guest, Lara Heacock, found herself in her mid-30s and what led her to becoming a life and leadership coach with a focus on kindness. Lara is a friend, a mastermind buddy, and we are both graduates of the Courageous Living Coach certification. She graduated in 2014 and I graduated in 2015. And we both are now members of the leadership team for that program. So I'm actually very lucky because I get to hang out with Lara quite a bit throughout the year. Also, I've been lucky enough to watch Lara's story unfold over the past 3 years. Now, in today's conversation, Lara shares her journey as a high-achieving woman and what led to her realization that self-kindness needed to be brought to the top of her to-do list. We dive into bringing forth projects into the world and celebrating our journey of self-awareness. Honestly, we were kind of laughing because it was such a typical conversation between two life coaches. There is a lot here, and so I know that when you listen, you will find something that will be like an aha moment for you. Lara's mission is to end burnout by using kindness, and she hopes to shift the corporate culture that glorifies burnout to one that believes self-kindness and self-care is a vehicle to success. During a 365-day challenge to bring more kindness into the world, Lara realized she needed to start with herself, and that is how Self-Kindess Saturday was born. Okay, so I don't know about you, but when I heard about that, I was like, sign me up. And so I started looking at my calendar, and I hope you will do the same. Lara also just released a new book, Practical Kindness, 52 Ways to Bring More Compassion, Courage, and Kindness into the World. The book is set up in 4 sections with easy-to-read chapters to read at the beginning of each week, and I can't recommend it enough. It's just a great way to start your week on a positive note. And actually, there have been times when I just needed something positive to focus on, and so I can just pick up the book, choose a chapter, and it really helps me settle in to remember what is most important. If you are someone who feels that you have to be constantly on and you need to be doing all the things, I have a feeling you're going to love this interview. You can find all the links that we talk about and how to connect with Lara, including her Instagram link because she mentions her little kitties in here and you need to go see how adorable they are. But I will have all the links over at the show notes, including how to get her book off of Amazon. And they will be at the show notes at midlifeschmidlife.com/episode 25. I just know you're going to love this interview, and so I'm just excited to introduce you to her.
Hey, Liz, I am super excited to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. And what a great way for me to spend a Saturday morning. We're both having our coffee together and just a conversation about kindness.
And full disclosure, there's a kitten on my lap, so it doesn't get much kinder than that.
Yeah, exactly. It's too bad we're not having a video chat right now, but probably a good thing because I have no makeup on.
Me neither. Newsflash.
Yeah, but the kitty would make up for it for sure.
She's sweet. Well, if anyone's curious, you can see both of them all over my Instagram.
Awesome. That's right. That's right. And I will be sure to leave all the links that we talk about in the show notes. And so everyone can hop over and see her little kitties. They're so sweet. Laura, before we get started, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I'm Lara Heacock, and I'm sort of trying to wrap my head around just being the kindness lady. You can find me a couple places in the digital world, Kind Over Matter and laraheacock.com. But really, my mission in the world is to end burnout by using kindness. It's really my own journey that started 5 years ago with Self-Kindess, and my new mission, which is to take kindness in business into corporate America to really try and shift the culture from one that glorifies and rewards burnout to one that views kindness and, self-care and self-kindness as actually a vehicle to productivity and success.
I love that. So I know a little bit about your journey through Self-Kindess. Oh, and we also want to mention, and you didn't mention it, but you also have a book out called Practical Kindness, 52 Ways to Bring More Compassion, Courage, and Kindness into Your World. And we will dive a little bit deeper into that as the interview goes on. But tell me a little bit about your journey with kindness, because the first thing that, comes up, like, kindness has become your brand. You are the kindness lady, and I know you in person, and I'm lucky enough to get to hang out with you quite a bit. And why kindness?
It kind of happened accidentally. Well, I'll say that with air quotes, because when I look back at my life, it turns out there was a lot of really early clues to my link with kindness. But I'll go back about 5 years to late 2013, early 2014. I was in a super stressful job. It was a commissioned position. And if any of your listeners have ever worked in a commission role, you know that it really breeds that if you don't work, you don't eat mentality. And it really gets you into this cycle of achieving and overachieving, which I was already really good at, to be clear. And I had been in that job for a lot of years, and I'd hit the point, probably 2012 and 13, where I knew something was off, and I'd started interviewing, and everything I went to, everyone I talked to, it was just like the same four walls, and it didn't feel any different. I knew I needed something, and I didn't know what it was. My undergraduate degree is in counseling psychology. I fell into the corporate world for 20 years. I have an MBA, but I had always looked into life coaching. I graduated college in the late 90s, and nobody, especially on the East Coast, knew what life coaching was. But I'd followed a bunch of coaches, and right around that time, mid 2013, when I was interviewing and feeling unsettled, I got an email from this coach that I'd followed, Kate Courageous, saying that she was launching a training program. And I just jumped on it. Yeah. So then in that year of 2014, I was still doing that same like crazy commissioned, like super achievement oriented, like I worked on my honeymoon kind of situation. And then I added a very intensive life coach training program to it. I also had taken over Kind Over Matter in late 2013. So I was blogging for the first time. And on top of all that, I decided that I was going to add a project for myself, the 365 Days of Kind project, which was amazing and wonderful. And also the thing that really tipped my scales into burnout. Because when you're already pretty stressed and then you finally are doing the thing that you love, but you have to do all of the hard things, and you add a project where every single day you have to figure out a way to be kind somewhere in the world. It's like, what is even happening? So round about like 3-ish months into that project, my shift started to focus. My focus started to shift. I'm only halfway through my coffee. Forgive me. My focus started to shift. And I just decided one Saturday, I was like, F it. I've got to just take a day off. I've got to give myself some time. And that's where Self-Kindness Saturday was born. And the whole rest of the year, I really practiced Self-Kindness Saturday, and it shifted. It started out in the easy ways, like manicures and bubble baths, which I totally love. And it ended up into what I view now as my brand of kindness, which is, setting boundaries and prioritizing rest and having conversations and making sure that I'm getting that fill of connection and moving my body in a way that feels good, not a way that I'm air quotes supposed to, and feeding my body in the way that works for me, not the way that works for somebody else. So that whole, 9 to 12 months of that year of 2014 is really where I focused on self-kindness, just because like the universe left me no other choice.
Well, thank you, universe. I mean,
yeah, thank you.
Right. When we're not listening, it sure does hit us over the head big time, right?
Lady, let's get real with all this stuff.
I really think you needed one more thing in all of that, honestly.
Probably. I mean, I probably should have tried to move or something else in there.
Exactly. Move across the country. Why not?
Sure.
So you know what I realized that I didn't do, which I have been asking my guests on the podcast a question before we start. So I'm going to just pop it right in here because I feel like this is a good place to do that. But so for our opening question, that is not so much in the beginning, but so what advice would you give your 20-year-old self, Lara?
People will love you even if you're not constantly achieving something. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think at 20, I mean, it's a weird journey because somehow, and I've got some ideas as far as the roots of where the stuff came from, but it doesn't really matter. What I know about myself is that I was always a good student. I never really worked all that hard. I'm very lucky and I was able to do well enough. I never really pushed myself, but then suddenly something happened and I don't know where it happened, but it was somewhere in that early 20s period when I first went out on my own, started making big decisions. And I just got wrapped up in this whole idea of, achievement is what's rewarded. And, you have to be the strong one. You have to be there for everyone. You can't have any, quote unquote weakness, vulnerability, anything like that. But yet I would notice myself getting really pissed off when people couldn't read my mind until something was up because, well, I was always there for them. And why shouldn't they return the favor? And it's well, people only know what you tell them. So I just really had that duality of not wanting to be vulnerable, but, desiring that reward for achievement, but being, upset and sad and disheartened when people didn't know that I needed something.
Right. And isn't it interesting when you look back on that really was the start, or maybe not the start, but it was still in this journey that you were taking that would lead you up to this point where now all of a sudden, I need self-kindness because I'm totally burnt out from the trajectory that I've started with all this type of expectations I have on myself and others, really.
Yeah. I mean, if I think back in I think I was 25, I think it was 2005-ish. So somewhere in there, early 2000s, I have what I now affectionately refer to as the best, worst year of my life. And when I look back at that year, I can see how just absolutely unkind I was to myself. I mean, it was truly it was the hardest year of my life to date. And I was terrible to myself. And it literally breaks my heart. It physically pains me to think about how I treated myself, physically, emotionally, all things in that year. And it took another 10 to 12 years beyond that of striving and achieving and trying to make myself feel good through, in this commission job, it was I was very lucky and I got to buy a lot of really fancy bags and I drove a really nice car and I had a, closet that was exploding with shoes and I could afford to replace my wardrobe through my ever-changing body because I was constantly punishing it or ignoring it. It was another 10 or 12 years of that lifestyle before I started to actually treat myself with kindness.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. Well, one thing that I know that I always like to remind my clients of, and I'm sure you do too, is the journey that has gotten us here where we are right now is so full of lessons, and what we've learned is just an opportunity for us to put that out into the world. And so I really love, I hate that you had to go through all of that. I think our 20s are so rough like that. Like, it's
Man, they suck. I wouldn't do them again.
Suck.
I would not do it again.
I wouldn't either. And I look at my sons and they're all in their 20s, and I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, I just feel so bad for them. Just to watch the lessons that they have to learn on their own, it's heartbreaking to me. But then reflecting back on where I was in my 20s, and it's just like, yeah, I had to go through all of that, unfortunately, but fortunately at the same time, to get to where I am now. Just wanted to do that little plug, because I've had to do a lot of, for me, I had to do a lot of forgiveness for myself as well from that time in my life. So I love that you could come through that and then have, just develop this awareness that kindness is needed, self-kindness is needed for yourself, but also for the world. So I just wanted to say thank you to your 20-year-old self.
Aww. Well, thank you. And, you're so right. You can't learn the lessons unless you go through them. You know what I mean? Like, if my parent or somebody older than me, I have a cousin that's 10 years older than me, and she and I are very close, but it's like, I still had to go through it. You know what I mean? Right. Like, I wouldn't have come out to the place where I am now if somebody had just tried to tell me the things that I learned for myself. And I also am a big believer in timing. And I think that everybody has their point in timing. Like, there's a reason that best worst year at 25 wasn't the time in my life where I learned to be kind to myself. It was probably the time in my life when I was most unkind. But then there's a reason that, 12 years later in my late 30s, I was able to adopt that lesson and to learn that lesson and to really integrate it and have it be a part of who I am.
Yeah. And so what was that process like? I'm just curious, because I know that when people start off on something that, it's kind of like they feel this pull to do it. There's a lot of self-doubt that kind of can come into that process of starting. And tell me what that process was like for you.
It's funny that you just mentioned self-doubt, because it's been a number of years now, and I had forgotten almost what it was like at first. Because I remember thinking, like, I have this distinct memory of, sitting in my neighborhood nail place and, doing a self-kind Saturday and thinking, like, what are people going to think? People are going to think I'm selfish. I'm supposed to be, quote, I'm supposed to be doing an act of kindness every day for a year for someone else. And what's everyone going to think when I start, doing self-kindness Saturday? And for whatever reason, I'm just going to go back to timing again. I did it anyway, which I know you and I talk a lot about, right. Courage. And my belief system is that that's pretty much as good as it gets. Like, fearless is not a thing, and never feeling, scared or never feeling the self-doubt. Like, I genuinely don't think that exists. I think that the balance can change, but if you can really notice that you are, scared of something or feeling that self-doubt come up and continue and do the thing anyway, like, that to me is like keys to the kingdom right there. So I absolutely was worried more about what are people going to think. So, and that's generally the root of my self-doubt. Like, it's either not good enough or what are they going to think? I come back to those two things. So This one particularly triggered what are people going to think, but I was just, I don't really know, divine intervention, call it what you will. I did it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe I knew I had to, maybe something in my psyche knew that I had to.
Right. And there are times in our lives too, where, there just is this, when you begin to listen to the signals that your body is giving you, or maybe, I don't know if we want to call it a mistake or something just keeps repeating itself, whether, maybe the players are different, but the way that it plays out is continual. And we start becoming aware. Sometimes we just know that no matter what our inner feelings are, we really do need to just do it anyway. Mm-hmm. And it's always interesting to me how self-care can trigger this place within us of being selfish. Mm-hmm. That, yeah, there's like such rich territory in there, like, things to uncover. And it goes back to what I call, the good girl rules about how we're supposed to be, put ourselves last and always be, aware of the needs of others and that kind of thing. And wow, that's just, I'm shaking my head like, oh my gosh.
Well, and like the one that really like gets under my skin lately is that you have that concept of having to earn it. And I notice I hold myself to that standard of like, when I do all these things, then it's okay. Right. Like, right. And even back to like this original story that we're talking about, it was like, it was on a Saturday, right? So it was like, I had done all the achieving Monday through Friday, and then Saturday I had earned it. Like I'd earned that self-kindness. And really a lot of my work now is on flipping that script and saying like, because I know to be true, like I know to be true about myself, that when I do rest and when I do take care of myself, and, like this morning, I made sure that I was up in time so that I had some time to meditate before you and I jumped on together, because I haven't all week. And all week I've been just talking myself out of it because there's so much to do. And I know for myself to be true that when I do flip that order of operations, that things are better. Like I feel better. I feel, I feel calmer. I feel happier. I feel more connected to myself, which allows me to connect to other people. So really flipping that script of you have to earn it or you have to deserve, the right to be kind to yourself. Like, no, you wake up in the morning and you've earned it. You deserve it. And even if your to-do list has 27 things on it, you still like rest should be, caring for yourself, whatever it looks like in a given moment. Like that's still allowed. It's still okay.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just like my wheels are just turning out on this conversation, and how interesting, and I'm not sure that interesting is the right word, but just how interesting it is that when we do take care of ourselves and we do extend the self-kindness, and I totally love Self-Kindness Saturday, by the way.
Thank you.
We show up better. I mean, our whole worlds become better. How we show up in the world, how we interact with our partners, with our friends, in the workplace. And we really do. And yet we forget all about that. And we can put this self-care and self-kindness at the bottom of the list. And then hopefully when we get to that bottom of the list, we'll have enough energy to do those things, and how it can totally shift when we put that at the top of our list. So simple, but not so simple.
But not, yeah. It's, what's the phrase? It's simple, but it's not easy, or something like that. Yeah. That's exactly how I feel about it. Because it's like I do, I'm telling you, like I feel completely different now because I gave myself that 15 minutes than I did every other morning at, 10:30 Eastern time this week.
Right.
And I know that, but did I do anything about it on those days? No, because, I'm a work in progress, and we're all imperfect, and we're all doing the best that we can.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Well, I love that you're helping other people discover that. So that's just awesome. Which brings me to your book.
Yay!
Which I totally love this book. I have to tell you, I can't tell you how many times I just feel like I need some, just some little reminders. So I just wanted to give you some kudos for that. It's 52 ways. So basically it's set up, right, that it's like once a week. Mm-hmm. Is that how it's set up? Or
yep, exactly. Once a week, because I feel like that's a really accessible place to start. Like I started with Self-Kind Saturday once a week. I feel like, I think a daily practice is great, but for a lot of people that feels overwhelming. I'm not a person can really do anything on a daily basis. And also like a lot can happen in a week. So if you give yourself a little bit of kindness focus in a week, it tends to be something that's, easy to integrate, easy to maintain. And you can actually, I'm a big fan of getting yourself an early win. So if you want to start bringing more kindness into your life, let's give you some wins. Let's make it accessible and easy, because if not, we get discouraged and it's just something else we hold against ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how you have the book set up, it's 4 sections. The first section is really focused on self-kindness, which I love that because, I mean, like we just discussed, you just show up so much better in the world when you are taking care of yourself first. And then the second section is courage to be imperfect. Ooh. Section 3 is kind living. And then you go into life lessons about hope and integrity and growth. So it's a great book. I will have the link to the book in the show notes. Everybody should hop on over. It's a great read. And like Lara said, it's just a short, it's just long enough to where you read something and you get something out of it and it gives you something to mull over during the week. So it's been great. And I think it's an awesome thing you're putting out there.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I think about it like building a house, like the foundation has to be self-kindness. And that's why we start that in section 1. And then the next step is, once you get that foundation built, you can start to like courageously dip your toe into showing some of those imperfections and seeing how that feels. And then once you've experienced that a bit, you can do some kind things in the world. And then you wrap up, and it's the life lessons are really like the things that I've learned, the things that I work with my clients on in, like in whatever way they show up to be able to help you with your own life lessons. It's my big learnings. It's the biggest section. Go figure.
Yeah. So I want to just talk about how that came to be, because I think that I just wrote a blog post this past week on saying yes, even when there's self-doubt. And so what was your process with saying yes to this project?
Well, when I actually did it, I was going through, just like starting to pull things together. And it turns out that I'd had the idea 2 years ago, which is funny. Because I found a document from 2 years ago with a bunch of notes on how I was going to pull this book together. So that's that was an interesting moment for me going like, oh gosh, I had this idea a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that I had an interesting, and I think this happens a few times in our life if we're lucky, that you hit a moment where maybe like all of the little steps that you've been taking end up in some big shift. And I had one in like late fall of last year. So like towards the end of 2017. And I just got this long burst of creativity and motivation and clarity. And I just kind of pulled it together. My process is typically, I get easily frustrated when things are hard because I don't like not knowing what to do. Like that's very much outside my comfort zone. I like to be the smartest girl in the room. I like to know what I'm doing. I like to have it all locked down. And I reformatted this book so many times that I was like, I am still amazed that I actually got it done and got it out into the world. But I just got into a groove and I felt so good about it. And my self-doubt, and Liz, you were around for some of this, where I would just go, well, I'm just going to self-publish, or, well, it's just me pulling together, a bunch of posts. And our wonderful third mastermind member, Joe Casey, said to me, Lara, every book is just a bunch of chapters. And I was like,
right.
Oh, I can really start to step into that. And I was, we talked about the simultaneous feelings, right? Of like that fear and pride. And I was really battling with both of those. And, all the old stuff comes up. What if nobody likes it? What if it's not good enough? All of those things. But I was just able to consciously step into that place of, like I did write a book. I did put this together. I did create this and put it out in the world. And I'm really, really proud of it. And I'm really happy that it's, I'm getting amazing messages and things. And it makes me so thrilled that, 2 years later, I got it out there.
Right. Well, it goes back to what we were talking about before. Sometimes, the timing just has to be, we have to go through these things in life, and then the timing is right. And so sometimes I feel, this podcast is another example of this. I had this idea for a podcast where I wanted to share these inspiring stories and talk to people who had these great things to share and focus on, women who are just kind of coming into the middle years of their lives and trying to figure out who they are now and wanting to, make these great things happen and start, they've been doing for others for so long, and now it was time to start doing for themselves. So I had the idea for that podcast back when podcasts were not a thing. I mean, it was kind of like, I was probably in my, it was probably 5-6 years ago. And, again, all the self-doubt was coming up. It was kind of like, oh, who's going to listen? No, maybe it's not such a good idea. Who would want to even be on the podcast? I mean, all of these things. Oh, and then the other one too was, I don't know how to do that. I don't know much about it. Probably the same thing. Like, I don't know how to self-publish a book.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. All of that comes up.
Right. And then it just kind of gets to be where I feel like things start taking a life of their own. Like the thought of doing the podcast, and probably for you, the thought of the book, just the energy behind that, it almost starts to become, and I know this sounds kind of silly when I say this, but its own energy force. It's kind of like it wants to be out in the world. It's just
I agree.
To. Yeah. And so then all of a sudden, just the timing is right. So I want to encourage anybody who's listening that if you've had an idea that's been sitting on the back burner, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to realize that, maybe now is the time to take a look. And it's okay if it was 5 or 6, even 10, 15 years ago, can revisit it.
I love that you just said that, because I was literally sitting here. You took the thoughts out of my head and just thinking it's okay if you didn't act on something. Like, it's okay if that timing wasn't right. And it's okay if that self-doubt won out. Like, I think that as, women especially, we are so good at adding things to our list to hold against ourselves. So, shifting that paradigm from, man, it sucks that I didn't put this book out 2 years ago, to this is the right time. And I probably wouldn't have felt as comfortable, promoting it and talking about it and, putting it out there 2 years ago as I did now. Like, now's the right time.
Right.
Like, and you had said it earlier, Liz, forgiveness. I think that is such a key, because again, otherwise it does become just one more thing we hold against ourselves. Like, it is so okay if there's something out there that, your listeners want to do and haven't done yet. Like, it's totally cool. And think about, maybe now is now the right time. And if it's not, you'll know when it is.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And I love talking to you, Lara. I mean, seriously.
I was like, literally, that was the exact thought that was in my head. I was just like, yes, it's okay. It's okay if it's not the time. And I think that I'm, I don't know that I'm 100% there with the forgiveness of that 20-ish year old self that we were talking about earlier. But I think I'm really pretty firmly rooted in the forgiveness of like, okay, I didn't do this 2 years ago. And I can very clearly see why, and like why things are sort of happening on the timeline that they're happening, and being okay with what I haven't done. And, what maybe in 2 more years, I'll look back and say like, oh yeah, that idea popped up back then. That's cool.
And now I have another project to release into the world.
Exactly.
Yeah. So just as a side note, that forgiveness of the 20-year-old thing, like that takes some time, and that takes some major kind of exploration, and sometimes just being okay with knowing that, I feel like, is the key to moving forward. We can ruminate over things that we did or should have done or didn't do, or sometimes I feel, at least for myself, just knowing that I'm 50% there or maybe 80% there, and for the forgiveness is better than where I was before. So I think that just being okay with that is something good. So
yeah. And look, I will thank you for that, because I will be very transparent, and like that, the thought of how I felt about myself in that part of my life, and that I needed to like look into that, hadn't even occurred to me. So thank you, Coach Liz. And
permission. It's all
now I've got something to work on and look at. But I think that's a really big thing, like, to really integrate all the parts of yourself and to accept for what they are and what they were. And
right.
Yeah.
Right, because you honestly are new to this whole over 40 club, or 40 and over club, I should say.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'll be 41 in a couple months, but
Yeah.
I am
So
new to
welcome.
40. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We're so glad you're here.
Good to be here. I got to say, it was 40 started a little bumpy. But my cousin that I mentioned earlier, who's 10 years older, she just turned 51, and she said 50 totally sucked and 51 feels great so far. So I'm like, cool. We're usually, in similar. I was like, great. So I think that's going to be the way it goes. Like 41 is going to be amazing. 40 was a little rocky to start. Not because I was like weird about the number, but just like, it was just like, there was some rocky stuff that happened when I turned 40. And I feel like there was a little bit of a light switch with my body where it was like, hey, lady, we're going to change a lot of stuff up on you.
Yeah, your body does do that.
It's not slow.
No. Yeah, it's interesting how that happens.
Yeah. So, but now I'm working with it. Now we've got a little bit of a groove going on. So
yeah. Well, I have to tell you, so we got to see one another last month, and I was just like, I don't know if you remember, but I looked at you. I was like, oh my gosh, you look amazing. So whatever you're doing, it's working wonderfully. So
self-kindness, baby. Like really.
Hey, self-kindness Saturdays. Let's do it.
Yeah. Like listening to that body, like not ignoring it and not, pushing it and not punishing it, and just really trying to have a kind relationship with it.
Yeah. Right. So you have two parts of your business right now. You have kindovermatter.com, and then you have laraheacock.com. And we've discussed this in our wonderful mastermind about, those two parts, and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So it's really like the two parts of my business are, I'm kind of settling into this whole life and leadership coaching. So Kind Over Matter is all about, the personal coaching, the personal practice, the life coaching and working. And I tend to work with a lot of people, men and women, who similar to me have hit the point of burnout. And that's not necessarily how they're feeling. A lot of times it shows up as like, I think I need to change my job, or I'm feeling disconnected. But really what it comes down to is building that, like I said about the first section of the book, building that foundation of self-kindness and what it means for them. And that's really the message of Kind Over Matter. It's all about life getting better when you're kind to yourself. And then the newer piece of my business is housed at laraheacock.com. And it's focused on, after years of working with people that had a very similar story to mine of being, mid-career professionals, like late early life to early midlife, people that are hitting that point of not knowing what's next, and really seeing that it is, my experience of being burned out in corporate America is not unique to me. It is really an epidemic. And what I am doing now is going into companies and working on that kindness in business, and how can we work to shift the culture so that you are successful and your employees are bought in, and you can actually create a culture that is kindness based and that is not going to reward that that busy busy-ness mentality of always having to be on, that leads to burnout, because study after study after study shows that that's actually a negative impact on productivity and on everything that companies want. So that's the business side of kindness.
Mm-hmm. So when we look at Kind Over Matter, and then you have laraheacock.com, and so it sounds like it's two. I love that it's two, I don't want to say two focuses, but it's almost geared to two different audience with the umbrella of bringing more kindness into the world. And I'm wondering, is that how it feels to you? Has this been like an evolution of your business, or is this been one of those projects that you've been thinking about for a while, or just can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, it's definitely been an evolution. So a couple of years ago, I did a total rebrand, renovation, makeover of Kind Over Matter. And I'd owned laraheacock.com for a number of years, and I just had it redirecting to Kind Over Matter because I didn't want to have two separate sites, and I wanted to have everything consolidated. And then I just, I think I had this, and again, this is just less than a year old, but really this kind of light bulb moment where I realized that I want to do I do all this work with people who are at the point of burnout, and I'm really great at helping them get through it and get past it and get to the other side of it and, start their own self-kindness practices so that they can be more successful, happier, fulfilled, and, connected to their joy. But I want to get underneath of it. I want to get to the root. I want to go into the place that's causing it, and I want to do something about it. So I killed the redirect, totally did a brand new design of LaraHeacock.com. I have done over the years some speaking gigs and some workshops for companies. And my goal for this year is to do more. I'm working with an amazing speaking coach, and we are kind of settling into the overall umbrella of kindness is key. So if you think about like kindness is key being at the top, on the one hand, when you're at the point of burnout, the self-kindness is the direction that you need to go. And there's a ton on Kind Over Matter that helps you start that journey. And then if you are a person who is in a company or in a leadership position and you really want to create a culture that promotes, kindness and does not glorify busyness and burnout, then we talk about kindness in business and, doing workshops and speaking and working with leaders on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what stuck out to me in all of that, and I mean, there's so much there, but what I find very interesting and I feel is something to make note of here is when you've been in the online business world for a while, like we have, there's all these quote, I'm using air quotes, gurus who tell you, you should only have one focus. You should only have one website. You should have all your stuff, to one place. Mm-hmm. And I love that you identified that, nope, that's not working for me now. It's time to do my own thing and what feels right.
Yeah. And it worked for a while and then it didn't. Mm-hmm. So, it's kind of like one of my favorite Maya Angelou quotes is when you know better, you do better. And, when it stops working, then you just do something differently and it's okay. And it's not, and a lot of people said like, are you keeping Kind Over Matter? Like, yes, I'm definitely keeping Kind Over Matter. It's a big part of the work that I do. And I love, I write every Monday and then the rest of the week we have amazing guest writers. So I love being able to put other voices of kindness out into the world and creating and providing a platform for people to talk about their own framework all under that kindness umbrella. But yeah, like it worked for a while and then it didn't. So now I'm doing something different.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I just love that because I feel like when people are getting started, they're quick to, and this doesn't even have to be in business or online business. It's really about about anything really. When we're getting started, we're quick to look for outside advice. We're quick to look at other people telling us the way that we should do things. And there just comes a point when you need to realize that this is what feels right for me. This is the direction I need to go, and do that thing. Do it that way. Do the way that speaks to you, because that's what's going to keep you involved in whatever it is you're trying to do, whether that's learning to paint or starting a business or changing careers. I mean, just being true to yourself, I feel, is very important.
No, I agree. And I think, when you were talking, the word trust pops into my head, and that's something that I've been playing around with a lot in my life personally. And it's something that comes up a lot for my clients. And I just think that, if you think about a relationship with somebody else, you don't generally meet somebody and immediately trust them. It takes time to build, and it takes, a little bit of interaction and a little bit of, proof and figuring out, okay, this is somebody that I can trust. And it's the same process with ourselves. Like, I needed to get to the point where I trusted that, like, this is the thing that feels right for me. And I trust myself enough to know that I'm going to do it. And, gurus out there may say that that's not the right way to go. And I just I trust myself more than them at this point. And it doesn't mean that what I've been doing for the past several years is wrong. It just means that right now something else is more right.
Right. Right. I agree. And again, it's that process. We talk about that kind of journey of going through, where we began, and then learning as we go, and then learning more about ourselves as we go, and learning more about the project as we go. I mean, it's all such a journey and such a process, and being able to then just accept this new iteration and this new evolution that you are going through, for example, is it's just beautiful.
Yeah. And it's funny. I had this thought when you were talking about, you had asked me earlier, what I would say to my 20-year-old self. And when I think about it now, looking back 20 years, like never, ever, ever, ever would I want to be in the same place at 41 as I was at 21. However, when we're in the moment and we're in those periods of growth or change or discomfort or all of those wrapped up into one big confusing ball, we fight against it so hard. Like we fight against, ourselves so often when we think about changing something or shifting or being in a growth pattern. But it's like, then when I think about it in terms of my 20-year-old self, I'm like, of course I want to have changed and grown and progressed further on my journey. Like, of course I do. But yet I still know that there's places, in 20 more years, I'll be looking back and thinking like, wow, I really fought with myself at 40 about X.
Right.
God, that's such an interesting dichotomy. And that just popped up for me. So thank you. I'm like, oh, that's crazy.
Right. So that's another question that I ask some of my guests is if they could go forward 20 years, what advice would they want to give their 40-year-old self?
I feel like I just gave it to myself. Like I just had a pretty big deal conversation with my husband in the last 6 months about, my business and where I want to take things. And, and I literally used the phrase, I don't want to wake up at 50 and think I should have done this when I had all that energy at 40. And I hired a speaking coach and I, bought a new laptop because my old was on its last legs. I'm like, I can't be doing these big things with bad technology. Like just, that thought is genuinely what came to me. I was like, I don't want to look back in 10 more years. And I had this realization that like, I'm a doer and I like to take action and it frustrates me when other people take action. And I woke up and I was like, oh, I haven't been taking action on that thing to the way that I can. And just like hitting myself over the head and realizing like, okay, so what does that mean? And that's probably why a lot of this latent frustration is coming up because I'm actually frustrated with myself and it's showing up as being frustrated with my husband. Shocker.
Well, I just feel like we had a breakthrough there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I am very in touch with that breakthrough. I was like, oh, this is why I'm so frustrated with him because I'm doing the same thing.
Right.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah. And that's how things come out, right? Like what shows up for us in one area. I mean, this is the whole thing about us being what we call holistic life coaches. I mean, what shows up in one area is showing up in another area. So if you're frustrated with, the way that your career is going, chances are whatever you are doing in that process and however and whoever you are showing up, that's happening somewhere else. So it's always, it's never just an isolated event.
Yeah.
Feeling. So,
yeah. And there's always something in it for me, what I've learned, like when I'm most frustrated with someone else or something else, there's always something there in it for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
As my wheels are turning and going, Liz, you should be paying attention to this conversation.
Yeah. Well, how often does that happen, right? Like, hey,
right.
Like a little behind the curtain into the life of a coach. There's oftentimes when our words are coming out for a client and we're like, oh, those are for me too. Yep. Those are for me too.
So many times. Yes, definitely. Well, wow, Lara, this has just been a great conversation. And I'm actually smiling thinking of our listeners listening to a conversation by two life coaches. I'm hoping, and I actually know that your words about self-kindness and maybe setting up a self-kindness Saturday will have landed very well. And just the permission that you're giving others to begin caring for themselves and extending the kindness to themselves before they extend it into the world, which, my gosh, our world needs so much kindness these days. So thank you for the work that you're doing. And thank you for showing up and being a guest on the podcast.
Thanks for joining Liz for the Midlife Schmidlife podcast. Remember, some days are never on your calendar until you put them there. Until next time.